you're looking to make money with your machine, you have to know how to price your items. And unfortunately, the answer isn't nearly as cut and dry as I'd like. So there is no wrong way to price an item. Unless you're losing money on the item, then by all means, that is absolutely wrong. Do not lose money on the things that you're selling. But finding the perfect pricing isn't something that's just gonna happen overnight. It is going to take some work to get a strategy that is going to work for you and your business and the items that you have. But with the tips that I'm going to share with you, hopefully it gets a little easier. The first thing that I want you to do is figure out how much your materials cost. If you sell decals, shirts, cups, anything like that, figure out what the price of those physical items are and what the price of your vinyl is per square inch, including transfer tape. Add up any of the little add-ins that you plan to add to your packaging, like business cards, little freebie stickers, anything that's going to make your package more you. Add those costs in there too. If you're having to pay for the file that you use for that, consider that as well. One thing I want to note is do include the shipping cost to get the items to make your stuff to your house. Include those in the cost of your item. I also want you to not include the sale price. Like if you picked up a pack of 100 cardstock paper and you got it for a heck of a deal, do not use the deal price and factor that into your item's cost, because there is no way to know that you are always going to get that deal price. There's no way to guarantee you're always going to get those items to make your physical product on sale all the time. So factor in the full cost of everything. Exclude your sales. Exclude any discounts for being a crazy member or spending so much. Factor in real life cost. If you were to go out tomorrow and all of the sales and discounts went away, how much would those items cost you to make? The next thing that I want you to do is calculate your shipping cost. Now, depending on where you live, what part of the globe, what part of the country, it's all going to be a little different. What you can do, especially if you live in the United States, is pick your address and then do one on one side of the country and one on the other side of the country. This will give you a rough idea of what you're looking at. So for example, I live in Florida. In order to figure out what my shipping costs were, I did it as if I was shipping it to New York, and then I did it as if I was shipping it to Texas, and then I did one as if I was shipping it to California, just to kind of gauge what I was looking at. I also did one for Canada. I just picked a random address in Canada, and then I also did one when I was doing UK sales and things like that. I would just pick a random address. It could be a business, it could be anything. Just pick a random spot to get an idea of what your shipping costs. So once you have your item costs, you then need to turn around and figure out what it cost you to sell the item on whatever platform you're using. I use Etsy, so it costs 20 cents to list on Etsy. They take a portion of your sales as well as your shipping. They also, if you have ads turned on, they're taking a portion from ads. If you've made a certain amount of threshold and things like that, they take additional percentage for off-site ads, but you can turn them off if you are under a certain amount. Before you go too crazy on the Etsy so expensive, yes, Etsy is expensive, but they're no worse than any of the other places that you would sell on. Think of your own site. You're now having to drive traffic to that, which costs money. If you're not that familiar with SEO, you have to build the website, do the hosting, things like that. Shopify comes with a $30 a month price tag on top of making sure that you're able to drive your own traffic. So there's pros and cons of everything. Don't get so caught up in the fees aspect of this. So now that all of those numbers are taken care of, what you need to consider now is the cost of your time. You are taking time out of your day working on these items, and you could be spending it doing other stuff, but you're taking time to make something. So you want to make sure that you're paying yourself a fair wage to compensate for, being tied up on a project. Now, this is the part that's kind of tough for everyone. The biggest thing that I want you to consider is be real with yourself. What are you actually looking to make? Is this a legit, I'm gonna hustle hard and try to make as much money as humanly possible? Or is this, I kind of just want to make enough money to kind of fuel my side project? Or I want to make enough money because I like messing with my Cricut and I want to be able to afford the supplies after these ones are gone. So make sure that you consider your money situation. Is this going to be, no, this is my jam, this is my business, I'm going to be rocking this thing until I decide to retire kind of thing? Or is this, I just need enough money to get a vacation this summer? It doesn't really matter what your money goals are. Just know what they are up front and be honest with yourself and don't lose sight of that. Now, with an hourly wage in mind, consider how long it took you to make that item. Let's go with a decal, for example. You can be in and out of your Cricut with a finished decal in 5 to 10 minutes. So with a little bit of math, figure out how long it actually took you to make and what you would pay yourself for that time. You don't want to price yourself to the point where you're just making minimum wage, because you can go get a regular minimum wage job and deal with less stress and it take up less of your time. Running a business is going to take up a lot of time. Not saying that it has to, but there are going to be times where you're going to need to do things and your days are going to run a lot longer. And when your days run longer, you don't want to be hating it, thinking like, wow, here I am making like $5 an hour now. Now that you've got that information together, I want you to take a look at Etsy's profit calculator on eRank. This will tell you what you should price your item at. And I say should because there's going to be times where the market just is not going to handle that. Slide on over to Etsy. And I'm using Etsy as an example because they are like the handmade marketplace. Just take a look at what your fellow crafters are pricing their items at. And this isn't in like an attempt to steal their ideas or their pricing strategy or anything like that. I want you to really be honest and look at it with clear lenses. Be unbiased and objective. What are they selling their items for? What kind of material are they using? What is going to set you apart from them? That difference between you and them, is that enough where you could charge a higher price for it? Take a look at the quality of material that the two of you are using. Are they using a more basic shirt where you're coming in with a higher quality shirt, more thread count, softer, whatever it is? Just consider the differences and figure out if you should be pricing higher or lower. Now, I do want to say, while we're comparing prices and things like that, it should never be a race to the bottom. While yes, you could generate more sales and revenue and things like that by pricing your stuff cheaper than anybody else on the market, it's not exactly a sustainable business model. If you're needing to do it for a short-term jump in sales or to host a sale to get your name out there or anything like that, that's fine. But don't latch on to the theory that you have to undercut everyone that's out there. Understand that your pricing kind of sets the tone for your business. There is that age-old thing where it's like, yo, you get what you pay for. And unfortunately, when people aren't happy with something, that is exactly the thing that they fall to. And it's not entirely right. There are things that are cheap that are absolutely amazing and are a lot better than their more expensive counterparts. But when someone's not happy with something, that is the first thing that they're going to cling to. Plus, the lower you go in the beginning, the harder it's going to be to raise your prices. Not saying that it's impossible to start with a lower price tag and then raise it up as you get more skills and more knowledge and you're just quicker at what you're doing. But the customers that you have that would continue to come back for those lower prices, they are going to notice as things start to climb. Just think about the gas prices. When everybody started seeing like, it is costing me an arm and a leg to fill up the tank today, there was definitely some backlash. So just be aware that those type of situations can happen. Not to discourage you from doing it, just know ahead of time that it could happen. Ultimately, your pricing needs to be something that one, isn't going to lose you money, two, is going to give you enough to set aside for taxes, and three, is something that you're genuinely comfortable with. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below how you're planning on pricing yourself in the upcoming year.